and welcome to a very special episode of Roses and Reactions.
Hey everybody, I'm Rosemary Rose. This is my daughter Rachel Rose, and I want to wish everybody a good weekend. I hope everybody's having a great weekend. What's been going on with you, New?
School. My finals are coming up. I'm about to graduate from college with my bachelor's degree in biomedical engineering. So that's exciting, but also really stressful because I got finals coming up soon. And final projects and all that. So yeah, but other than that, basically nothing really new. You, Mom?
I've got a trial coming up and I'm way behind at work. What else is new? But it was Passover yesterday, so we want to say happy Passover to all our Jewish friends out there. And tomorrow's Easter. Want to go ahead and say happy Easter to everybody and happy Sunday for tomorrow.
And hello to you, Cheryl.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. My mom was really hyping you up being here.
Yes. So thank you. Thank you for coming on board. Tonight's a very special night.
Yes, it is.
So we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about Rachel's childhood a little bit.
Yeah, 'cause the thing with Roses and Reactions is it's a show where I show her media I enjoy, she shows me media she enjoys, but a lot of the media that I show her is stuff that I discovered when I was an adult or a teenager, around that area. This is stuff that I grew up with, so it's kind of a bigger deal to me. Well, most of them. Most of the shows that we're going to be discussing I grew up with. There's some extras in here, but just because I really need to talk about them. I think I don't know why we're like putting it off, like what we're talking about, like it's some big secret. If people tune in, it's in the title. We're doing Nicktoons.
Yes, Nickelodeon was a huge part of my life, actually, even before she was born. And so we're going to be talking about some shows that happened before she was born, but she did see them because they played all the time on Nickelodeon.
Reruns. I just wanted to add really quick that we aren't going over every single Nicktoon ever created, just the ones that I guess, I don't want to say the ones that are historically quote unquote important, because there's going to be one like, how could you skip this? It's important to me, you idiot. But the ones that we feel personally are, I guess, important to either one of us.
Yes.
Or some shows that we like.
So if we don't
discuss
on
like your favorite Nicktoon on there, please they discuss it with us. Like, we're free to have like any if you want to be like, hey, I really want you to discuss this. We'll have a dialogue with you. 100%. These shows that we just have like listed here, because we got a list, are the ones that are important to or left an impact on us.
Left an impact. I think that's the best thing.
Mostly me.
Yeah, we encourage comments. Please comment away and let us know what you think. The first show we're going to be talking about is there were three
original Nicktoons.
Ren and Stimpy, the Rugrats, and Doug.
And this is actually really interesting to me because I believe, if I get anything wrong here, please feel free to correct me. The Nickelodeon was created in order to, I guess, promote child entertainment beyond the point, or cartoons in general, beyond the point of toy commercials.
Right.
To extend from what we've got in the 80s of Transformers, My Little Pony, stuff to sell toys, basically advertisements, into actual general entertainment that kids and even adults can enjoy.
Yes, it shows for the families, so all families could enjoy it.
I think Nickelodeon was the first network to do this, correct?
More so really than Disney, because Disney really focused on the younger children for a long time, and we have Nick Jr., but that's another story for another time.
Yeah. You see, back in my day, there were the three big ones. There was the three big kids show channels: Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and Disney. This is the one that I grew up with since I was in diapers.
Right.
So it's very important to me.
So the first show we're going to talk about is Ren and Stimpy,
which is very different. Like, I'm talking about how this is a show about child's entertainment, and we start with one of the most adult-ish shows out there. This show is, as a kid, this show was an enigma to me. I watched it. I remember catching glimpses of Ren and Stimpy, but it's all sort of like a fever dream to me, mostly because it came out in 1991, and I don't recall when it ended, but I believe I saw reruns of it, and it was very weird to me.
It is a very strange show.
I don't think I got a lot of it.
It's about this like really hyper angry Chihuahua and his really laid back fat cat friend Stimpy. Okay. And this is a show that actually my dad and I watched together on Nickelodeon before she was even thought of. Okay. We were watching it when it premiered in 1991. It was actually August 11th, 1991. And this show, it was funny, but at the same time, it was like really gross humor. A lot of it,
yeah.
There was like, they would do the drooling, and sometimes you'd see the inside of like Ren's mouth. And
I'm with Cheryl on this one. I even as an adult, I watched it later. I'm not a big fan of Ren and Stimpy, but I respect Ren and Stimpy for what it did, because I think it was one of the first animations. I don't want to say geared towards adults, but in a more adult fashion, which I think paved the way for a lot of other shows to be more cartoons to be adult oriented, in my opinion. So I respect it, but it's just a little too, I guess, abstract is the word I'm looking for me.
Yeah, I think you had to be. It was a certain type of humor, and either you liked it or it didn't. Like I said, it was kind of like gross humor, and my dad liked that kind of humor. And actually, there was these two ladies that used to that were friends of my dad's, and her name was Ren, and my dad could never remember the other lady's name, so he just called them Ren and Stimpy, and it stuck. And he's like, "Oh, there's Ren and Stimpy going down the street," and that's my whole recollection of the Ren and Stimpy era. So, but so we're gonna move on to another show, which was huge.
This one is weird because I remember it. I remember having a big impact on me, but I don't remember the show. Like, okay, I don't want to say I don't remember the show, but I remember it having a huge impact, and I remember being a big fan of it, but I don't remember any instances of me specifically watching it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it was on all the time.
It went on for a long time. Rugrats, which I think is the longest running of the original 3. Correct?
Yes, it was on for 9 seasons. And 172 episodes.
That explains why. I think it was on often, too. I think that's why I got so into it, because compared to Ren and Stimpy, or the next one we're going to talk about, Doug, this was the one that I think aired the most-ish.
Yes, it was on all the time. Sometimes it would be on for like hours of blocks. This was another show that also premiered at the same time as Ren and Stimpy, August 11th, 1991. And... Did you want to say? What are you going to say?
I was just going to say is this show is like another enigma to me, but unlike Ren and Stimpy, where it's like, I remember catching glimpses of it as a kid. I don't remember watching this show at all, but I do remember I loved it, especially Chucky. Chucky was my favorite character. I know that. I remember Angelica used to terrify me because of the way they used to frame her. Like, they always framed her so big and scary, which is ironic because I grew up to be sort of an Angelica myself.
Yes,
when I got to be in that age.
Were. Yeah, Angelica was the older sister of Tommy Pickles, right?
Mm-hmm. And I remember, I remember Raptar. And I remember, there are specific moments that I remember. Take it back. I remember Dill being born, because I think that was in one of the movies. And I remember there was an episode about where they went over Chucky's mom not being alive anymore, because I always wondered where his mom was. And so I remember watching the episode where they basically reveal that his mom passed away. And the third thing I remember, because I specifically remember asking her about this kid, this show introduced me to the Jewish culture, because they had a Hanukkah. I'm like, where's the Christmas special? What the heck is Hanukkah? And I remember specifically saying, hey, Mom, what's Hanukkah? And you had to explain to me what Jewish people were.
Right, exactly.
So, hey, the show succeeded in basically, because I think that was one of the main goals of that, the Pickles being Jewish, was them trying to, I guess, represent them, give them some representation, which, hey, it worked. As a kid, I learned what Jewish people were. I hate, I'm saying it so weird, like, oh, those Jewish people, like, they're completely...
But
no disrespect.
I mean, she just wasn't familiar with the Jewish culture, and Rugrats introduced her to that. So much so that we even we did remember that when I fried the latkes for you.
Yes.
So that they would have a taste of what
I hated
the Jewish
them.
culture.
They tasted because they were like pancakes, and I don't know why, but I expected them to be sweet, but they're potato pancakes, so I don't know why. They taste like French fries.
So with Rugrats, this was another huge show. This was probably my dad's favorite Nicktoons show of all time.
Oh, yes. That's another thing I remember about the show. My grandpa, before he passed away, used to draw me characters from it. And I wish we had some pictures, but he used to make like cardboard puppets, sort of. Like I remember a cardboard puppet of Chucky that he made for me.
Yes, he actually did a whole birthday party for you when you were little, and he did.
I vaguely remember this.
He had Dill. He made Tommy Pickles. He made Chucky. He even had an Angelica that he designed, and he did this whole like I think you were maybe probably 2 or 3 years old.
Two. My third one was Disney Princess.
So yeah, when you were 2, he did this whole Rugrats theme party for you, and he made all those dolls. Yeah, my dad was huge on art, and he actually made some really cute stuff for her, and he loved drawing the Rugrats. He just adored that show. I watched it for many years. It it was just a good, I mean, I think that might have been the first time that you had like young children like from their point of view,
and this show I mean, it actually plays into what I was saying. I was getting my words confused. I actually did gross out like Ren and Stimpy, but I don't know. I guess I kind of just fit there because babies are gross.
Yeah.
I guess that's how I justified it in my head. Babies are gross. So you're going to get some gross out.
Yeah, and they actually had a couple, I think, big screen films.
They did. This show went on for, this show was very popular.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Before they got into their little yellow cash cow that we'll go into later. I think this is the most popular Nicktoon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So Mark is asking how our cat is doing. We have a cat. We almost didn't do the show today because we weren't sure what was going to happen with our cat. We have a cat by the name of Carousel, and she's a young little thing. She got started like getting like where she didn't want to eat, and she was like gagging a lot. So we took her to the vet today, and I was down there for 2 hours. They ran a battery of tests, and everything that all the really bad stuff came back negative. But she was severely dehydrated. So they gave her a couple of shots, hopefully to get her appetite back. What she does have is huge inflammation in her stomach.
They think she ate something bad.
But she's still not 100% at all.
But nothing, we're pretty sure, like we're 99% sure it's nothing life-threatening. Like, at the very worst, we're probably going to have to get her some medication.
Yeah, we'll know more on Monday. They did the bad blood work that she doesn't have feline leukemia. She doesn't have FIV, which is good. They took x-rays. They didn't find any kind of blockage or tumor. That's good. So they're just going to wait and see what the other battery of tests are. But she came home, and I guess she's hiding again. And we just got to make sure she stays hydrated. So it's touch and go. But, the news could have been a lot worse. So we're really grateful. And we're here. And that's why we're here tonight to do the show. We really wanted to do this show.
Back to Nicktoons.
Back to Nicktoons.
The third show we have to talk about is also one I don't remember watching much, but it's so sweet. This is probably the most wholesome show of all time. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
This show was originally on Nickelodeon,
and we don't talk about Disney's Doug. That doesn't exist.
Okay, well it went on. I think it was on ABC after that. But this is a really sweet show. This wasn't one that I watched a lot of.
You did have a little figure of Skeeter, though.
Yeah, I did.
You love that thing.
We used to. It was a cute show. It's about imagination, and the basis of Doug is basically, he'll imagine a scenario in his head, and sometimes it's really horrible, or sometimes it's really great, and then it turns out to be, a little bit different. And it helps him to work out a lot of his problems. So I wished I had watched a lot more of it than I did. I kind of, I wasn't really big on the art style on it originally, but it was a really cute show. It was on for 4 seasons with 52 episodes on Nickelodeon. And then
it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it moved on to another.
Doug does not have long sleeves.
Another
Doug
channel.
Will never have long sleeves.
Okay.
Moving on.
So wait a minute. Let's talk about Doug for a little bit here.
Okay. Yeah, I know you wanted to bring up Quail Man.
Yes, Quail Man was his superhero, and he had a lot of mini adventures with that as well. So that was really cute. And So that's Doug. And now we're going to go on to another show that I really don't know a lot about.
I remember this. We're finally at the point where I remember watching a show. Wow. It's about time into this retrospective about cartoons I watched as a kid, a show that I actually remember watching. Rocko's Modern Life. I loved Rocko's Modern Life. I still like Rocko's Modern Life quite a bit. This show is played in, I remember it being played in my preschool race community for a time before they banned it because there was an episode basically, well, not directly going, but had allegory for being gay. So it was a very Christian school, so that got banned, unfortunately.
See,
I didn't even know as a kid.
I
didn't even know as a kid, but I don't know. I don't think I would have gotten it as a kid. But, I just remember the show being really fun. It's kind of slice of lifey like Doug, but more. It's like a combination between Doug and Ren and Stimpy. It's like slice of life-ish, but also has those zany elements. But unlike Ren and Stimpy, which kind of turns me off of it because of how ungrounded it is, this show is, I guess, the more grounded version. They talk about normal adult stuff like losing your job and having to join a sex call operation board, which I only realized now later while reviewing the show that happened. And yes, this is a thing that happened in the show.
Don't remember
or
that
the
at
neighbor,
all.
Miss Bighead, getting tired of her husband and wanting to jump Rocco's bones. The episode was called Leapfrogs, and that one actually did get banned off of television. This is a pretty risque show. They also had the devil. I remember they had, I think they called it HE double hockey sticks, where one of the characters, Heifer the cow, ate too much chicken, Choki's chicken, and he died. And because he committed the sin of gluttony, he went to hell. So this show was I think this show was very adult oriented, to be quite honest, and under the guise of a kid's show, sort of like Ren and Stimpy. I just remember really enjoying it. It was a very funny show to me when I was a kid. You don't remember anything about it?
No, I just remember the theme song. I don't know what was going on, but I don't remember anything of what you're talking about. I don't know what was happening in my life while you were watching that. Really.
I was about to move on to the next show, but I do want to bring up something really, really cool that this show did in their comeback special. I don't remember the year, but I think it was around 2018. They had a special come out after the show's cancellation called Rocko's Modern Life Static Clean, where they had a character who was previously known as Ralph Bighead in the previous show become Rachel Bighead in the special, because Rocko's Modern Life was all about dealing with normal problems in their era. And back in the 90s, they dealt with normal problems facing people in the 90s. And when they brought it back, they continued that spirit when they brought it back in the special by dealing with issues that are faced in the 2020s, late 2010s. And so they introduced a trans character to the show, which I think is super cool, because it's super cool that LGBT representation is getting more involved in cartoons. And it's great that we're getting a lot more gay and lesbian characters, but you don't see a lot of trans characters in animation or shows in general, I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well,
I don't watch a lot of live action
there's
TV.
been some, there was that one show that did it in very poor taste, if you remember. That show that we don't talk about
that show. But it's very.
But I did not know that. I didn't know that they had a trans character on that show. They did, cool.
And I thought that was really cool when I watched that, because I remember watching it as a kid. So I'm like, oh, what's this? This came out on Netflix, so I watched it, and I just thought that was super cool. So big props to the show for that. Next show is one you also don't remember, which shocks me, because it's another one like Rugrats, except I remember watching this one that I adored. Hey Arnold was such a big deal to me. Like, such a big deal to me as a kid. Because this is the show that started getting me to start thinking about stuff. About, I guess how I would describe it, more serious stuff. This show, if you don't know, tackled some very serious issues. It's one of those shows that teaches morals at the end of episodes, But instead of like Dora the Explorer level, like share, don't go to bed on time, brush your teeth. This show dealt with addiction, child neglect, alcoholism, the pressures of being an orphan raised in a non-traditional family by your grandparents, muggings, stuff like that, which was a thing when I was a kid. As I remember this show, unlike Rocko's Modern Life, where I went back and I didn't remember all this stuff as a kid. I remember it explicitly. The Pigeon Man episode, like I remember that stuff explicitly. You don't know about the Pigeon Man episode, do you?
No, I don't. Mm-mm.
Oh, the Pigeon Man episode is an episode about Arnold going to visit somebody who has like a sort of a stigma in the neighborhood called the Pigeon Man, because he lives on a roof and he feeds the pigeons. So Arnold goes up there and finds out that this guy is just kind of an old hermit who he likes pigeons. He just likes pigeons. He's just weird and he doesn't conform to society's normal standards. And the episode ends with the other kids going up and trashing his stuff, his pigeons, ruining basically all of the stuff he set up for him. And he ends with him flying away into the sunset because he realizes he doesn't want to live in this society with people, I guess, who would do that. And I don't know why, but there's just this end scene with him flying off in the sunset with this little contraption he made to fly among the pigeons. I don't know why, but that stuff hit me. Especially because years later, I looked into it while researching this video. I specifically looked back to that episode and found in the fun fact, he was supposed to kill himself at the end of the episode.
Oh, that's terrible.
Nickelodeon didn't allow that, but I think I like what we got much better than that. There are other episodes of this show too that I specifically remember as a kid. The one where they put Helga, the bully character, and the main female lead who has a crush on Arnold in a therapist chair for to just basically discuss everything, because she is such an interesting character. They talked about her parental issues of her parents not paying attention to her, how she had a guy to crush on Arnold with her going to kindergarten for the first day. She was the first person to ever really be nice to her, to reach out to her, how she learned to be a bully because other people were picking on her, and she realized the only way to get respect, well, at least in her opinion, is to fight back and make sure that nobody can step on her again. It was I loved her character when I was a kid. I don't know why, but I guess even as a child, small brain, 7-year-old, 6-year-old, she just sort of clicked with me. I don't know. I realized something was going on there. Her mom was always on these smoothies, and she always had like this slur to her voice, and she accidentally packed her kid's lunch, Helga's lunch, with a shaving cream, which is obviously, now that you go back, a reference to alcoholism. But the one, while going back and looking at the episodes list to realize if there was anything that any other episodes I remember, I found one that kind of connected to me today, which is another Helga episode. But I remember watching this as a kid, and it didn't really affect me then, but now it really hit me. If you don't know, I used to be extremely obsessed with grades. Like, I wasn't good at sports. I wasn't good really at any other extracurricular activity. The only thing I thought I had going for me in high school were my grades, and if I was on the verge of not getting anything less than an A, I would freak out, and you can attest to this.
Yeah,
have a full-blown panic attack over it. So I go through looking at these episode synopsises, and I come across one about Helga's older sister, Olga, coming home from college, and because she gets so much attention from her parents compared to Helga, she decides that she wants to put her in her place, to make it, just get her back for something. So when her report card comes in, she changes an A that she got to a B+, and similar to how I would have reacted, Olga has a complete and utter mental breakdown over it, and Helga thinks she's overreacting, goes to apologize to her. Nothing is much of a big deal. And then Olga basically tells her, hey, little sister, that was a really mean thing for you to do. I have all these pressures put upon me by my parents, and you're lucky that they don't pay attention to you, because that you don't have to deal with all of this stress that I don't really want to deal with. And it ends with them agreeing to go see a movie later. So I guess they reconcile. That's the word. And I don't know. That just it really hit me, because I've been in that place before. But it ain't her fault. Unlike her, where her parents pushed her to that. That was me and my own low self-esteem, which I'm doing better now.
Yes.
You can attest to that too.
Yeah.
I'm doing better now. But that is Hey Arnold. Very important show. And it also got the movie treatment. But this one's a little bigger, because forever we were supposed to know what happened to Arnold's parents. And there was supposed to be a movie called The Jungle Movie that revealed this. And we never got it for so long. And then later, similar to Rocko's Modern Life and another show that we'll be talking about here soon, they actually got the movie. And that makes me so happy that stuff like that can happen now, because back in the day, this stuff was unheard of. A show got canceled and you never hear from it again.
Right.
Now we've got nostalgia on our side to blackmail all these companies with money. If you want money, gotta pay up. You gotta pay up.
So yeah, hey, the whole complete series is available on over at Amazon. But it's like $90 almost. Can you believe that? Yeah. A lot of these other shows, they're fairly reasonable, but I thought that one was excessively high, and I was just wondering, do you know why?
Do I know why? I don't particularly know why Hey Arnold in and of itself would be excessively high priced. When did it come out?
It came out in 1996. So that
no. The collection.
I'm not sure, but there's over 100. There's 100 episodes, and it went on for 5 seasons.
Great show, fantastic show.
And all I remember about it was this kid has a head that looks like a football. That was my recollection.
All this important like character stuff, opening my mind to creating characters and characterization and deep and complex character. He got a head shaped like a football.
Yeah, that's basically my 2 thoughts on it. So you went in way much deeper than I ever. I don't remember the show much at all, except that I always said, "Oh, there's that football head kid." Okay, so we'll move on to a show that I do know something more about. The Rachel doesn't really. I don't know if she doesn't care about it or if she...
No, I don't not care about it. I found it fun as a kid, but it was also kind of educational, which really turned me off, because educational stuff...
Did you have a clip for Hey Arnold that you wanted to show?
I basically described the entire clip. Plus, if we can avoid Viacom copy striking us, we can avoid a copyright strike from Viacom. Listen, Viacom, listen here. We're going to be showing clips later. We're going to try to lower them down. I have about 7 of them, but if I can try to sneak by those and only show ones that she brings up, like, you're not supposed to bring that up. Because if we can avoid Viacom striking us, that would be great, because they have no mercy.
They have no mercy?
They have no mercy.
All right.
They're worse than Disney.
So we're going to talk about the Wild Thornberrys.
Which, as a kid, I thought was smashing. Nigel Thornberry is what I remember about this show. He was hilarious.
So the Wild Thornberrys is basically, it's a family that live in Australia, and they do like a show on the road.
I believe so. I'm a little fuzzy on the details. I know Eliza can speak to animals.
Yeah. So it's basically, I think they drive around and I think they do a show, like a nature show.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did not realize, or what I had forgotten when Rachel told me this afternoon, is that Nigel Thornberry was voiced by Tim Curry.
Which you don't realize as a kid, but even I know who Tim Curry is. Okay, I don't. If you are a first time viewer, you might not know, but I don't know who these actors are. I don't know actors' names, but I know who Tim Curry is.
So yes, he's a legend.
So no wonder I remember Nigel Thornberry. Yes.
Yeah.
There's Cheryl trying to beat us to the punch.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl.
And I did not know that, so that's pretty cool. And so that show came out on September 1st of 1998. Mm-hmm. It was on for 5 seasons, and I don't remember it being on for that long, but it had 91 episodes. So it was pretty solid. And I remember that they did do a crossover movie with the Rugrats.
I remember watching this, and it terrified me. I don't remember why, but it scared me. I got scared by really weird stuff as a kid.
Yes.
But oddly not, another show that we will be bringing up did not scare me as a kid. But that, oddly enough, terrified me, and I don't know why. But we have officially, with Wild Thornberries, we have officially exited the baby to second grader era of my life into shows that I actively, vividly remember watching with you and the family. You should know a majority of the shows that we go over from this point on, and how I used to watch them.
You know, when you're a mom, you just have to. These shows are on constantly.
Oh,
They're stuck into your brain. You have to buy all the DVDs.
Okay, but did you ban any of these shows? Like, because back in the day, if they annoyed you enough, banned. Do I need to tell you? I need to tell you about the Legend of the Wonder Pets.
Oh yes, the Wonder Pets. Yes,
the show was so annoying that she just straight up didn't let us watch it anymore.
I had my fill of that. That was just one of the most annoying shows I can remember as far as kids shows. They always were singing these really annoying songs, and it just drove me.
You banned me when we did the
wall.
You banned it when they did the tree episode because you're like, that's not even an animal.
Yeah.
They went around saving baby animals.
We need to save the tree.
And you were like, I banned it. I think that you were just done. Yeah, look at her face. Yeah, I tortured you with that show. But moving on, Wonder Pets. I don't think you banned any of these shows, no matter how much they weren't Wonder Pets.
No, I never banned any of these shows coming up. As a matter of fact, most of these shows are pretty big in our household, and this next one is a whopper. This one, everybody knows who this is. Everybody, unless you live under a rock, like a certain character on the show, and that is SpongeBob SquarePants.
This is a big show this is the first one where I think everybody in the family
always watched this show.
And this show, I know it makes some people love it, some people hate it. We watched the early season SpongeBob are still fantastic.
I had to take these. I had to make sure when we went to hotels that we had the collection. We had whatever season.
Yeah, because they didn't have Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
so she had to bring in our DVD box sets.
You know, you check to see what channels the hotel has, and if they didn't have Nickelodeon,
you had to get that DVD box set.
I had that season 1 through 3 box set. Went with us everywhere, because we had to have SpongeBob with us wherever we went. This show originally aired a year before Rachel was born, May 1st of 1999. 272 episodes.
And still going.
13 seasons.
Which I think is what the majority of people who don't like the show are like, why this one? Why is this one still going? Why is this the most popular Nicktoon? Which it is. This is the most popular Nicktoon. Yes, and Clancy Brown voices Mr. Krabs.
That's so cool. I did not know that. That is
How
cool.
did you not know that?
But
you know all this stuff. Because you disrespect voice acting. You don't think it's a thing.
No, I think no. I have a lot of respect for voice actors. I really do. And they're some of the nicest people on the circuit, and I think they're really great when people know who they are.
You can say how we're on screen.
Well, no, I'm serious. I am serious about that. But I did not know that about Clancy Brown, and that is pretty cool. Because I love Mr. Krabs.
But your favorite character is one that, as a kid, I hated, but you don't get it till you're an adult.
Yes, and that's Squidward. My husband and I, we were both.
I watched the show for Squidward.
We worked retail in our early years. Okay, he worked at Kmart and some other places. I worked at JCPenney, and the attitude that Squidward has is the attitude that you have on the inside of your heart when you work in retail, but one you're not supposed to show. Okay. And it was so refreshing just to have him be so droll and say whatever he felt like to customers. And it was refreshing to us. So he was like our favorite go-to character on that show. Okay. But this show has a lot of great memories for the family. There's an episode here. Let's do this. Let's show the picture. So,
oh yes. Ravioli. This was a running gag. Ravioli. Give me the formula. Where Plankton infiltrates the Krusty Krab as a robot, Mr. Krabs, to try to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula. This was, I think, the family's favorite episode.
Whenever this came on, if somebody said, "Hey, this
get out,
on,"
stop what you're doing.
Everybody stopped what they were doing in the house, and we would run and watch this show because this is hilarious. It was,
to me, that was what I watched. I don't know if it's the same for you guys.
It was just so funny, and it became such a whole family iconic. It was our meme. Okay,
yeah, we used to repeat ravioli, ravioli, give me the formula. All the time.
It's
meatball, spaghetti underneath. Ravioli, ravioli, great barrier reef.
Formula time. And then because the whole thing is Plankton, the little bad guy. Okay, he dresses up in this fake robot Krabs costume, and he's trying to get the secret formula. And so after the whole ravioli scene, after he's gone through all this crazy stuff, he's like, it's time for me to have the formula. And Squidward's like, not yet.
No. SpongeBob was like, no can do, Mr. Krabs.
And then the robot's eyes catch fire.
Yeah, it's like, why? I remember we can quote. Wait, if you put on it, we could probably quote this.
Yeah, if the episode came on,
this was just such a big deal for us. Were there any other episodes that reached that caliber? I think
yes. The other one I have a picture of. This one was it's still huge in our house.
Oh, we had an app.
Yes.
The Magic Conch.
Yes. The Magic Conch is where
yes.
Patrick, SpongeBob, and Squidward get stranded
in a forest, and they're basically using a magic 8-ball. It's the type of thing.
Yeah, it's a magic 8-ball thing to decide what they're doing, what they're going to eat, what they're going to do, whether they're going to build a campfire or not. They pull the string and see what the Magic Conch has to say. Okay, and so my husband loved that so much. It turned out there was a phone app. And you would just hit the app and it would
we would play one of the voice clips of the Magic Conch throughout the episode.
So for like years, whenever we went anywhere, he would do that Magic Conch app.
This show just has so many fond memories for me and the family.
Everybody from Christopher on up, this was just such a huge part of our lives with Patrick. The Patrick. I don't think we have that photo though.
I don't think so. No.
But I had grabbed a GIF earlier about him where he's like trying.
Oh, the mop! Did you just pull in from Stupidville?
Yeah, he's sweeping. He's trying to. He got this job over at the
Krusty Krab,
and he's sweeping with the wrong end of the broom.
And the customer just comes up like somebody's string. You're like, hey, buddy. You just move in from Stupid Town.
Oh yeah, that's another episode that we would.
Oh, that's the same episode where it's like, is this the Krusty Krab? No, this is Patrick. This stuff is the first time where we as a family like clicked.
Yeah,
like us as a family just like clicked and enjoyed it, and it was so much fun.
Are you gonna play the clip? We're going to play the clip.
Viacom, please. Oh, listen, if you're on YouTube, I'm warning you now. Get another source up. Viacom, don't play with this copyright.
It's okay? It's not too long, right?
Yeah.
She wanted to show this.
I wanted to show because I remember the pizza episode. And I just remember this being so cathartic as a kid. We're going to set this up for you. So this guy calls your restaurant, doesn't even sell pizza, and orders a pizza. And you, being the generous establishment that you are, actually get him a pizza to deliver it. So you go on through this whole journey to get him this pizza. And you expect him to be like, yeah, I'm going to take the pizza. Right. I remember cheering as a kid when this scene happened. Because, I don't know, this is my first type of catharsis. I got to get ready to leave if you're on YouTube. This is your final warning because I don't trust Viacom. Here we go.
I can't wait to see the look on our customer's face.
You never worked here, right?
Yeah?
Congratulations, sir. Your Krabby Patty pizza is here.
Wow, thanks. I've been dying for one of these. Where's my drink?
Yeah, people are dying
What
off.
drink?
My drink? My Diet Dr. Kelp? Don't tell me you forgot my drink!
But you didn't order any.
How am I supposed to eat this pizza without my drink? Didn't you ever once think of the customer? You call yourself a delivery boy? Well, I ain't buying!
I know, in retail, you gotta
Sponge?
deal with people like that before, right?
Sponge?
Yes.
It's okay. Sponge.
I see that people talk off. I don't know if that's because it's copyright. Like, I'm just scared. I'm just scared.
Sponge.
And I think this actually plays off what you were saying before, how Squidward just did whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
And it was
Another
like
one?
cathartic to
Look,
you,
I
because
told
you
your
were-
little friend I ain't paying for that!
Well, this one's on the...
Did he change his mind?
He sure did. Ate the whole thing in one bite.
No drink?
Now, take me home.
Are you kidding? We have just enough time to make it back to work.
And
Oh, my aching tentacles.
And you know the thing is, he didn't even order a drink. He got mad about this drink. First off, why don't you have any drinks at your house? Second off, you didn't even order one. So why are you complaining?
Well, you know how that goes.
You said you had to deal with people like that
All
before.
the time. All the time.
Never be me. Couldn't be me. I couldn't. Listen, I'm a generally passive person in public, but I don't deal with stuff like that. You come at me, I'm not responding well to that.
You're gonna do the Squidward?
Yeah, I'm gonna do the Squidward. I'm gonna throw it back in your face.
Yeah.
I think everybody as an adult.
Hi,
can
Terry.
relate- I think everybody as an adult can relate to Squidward.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, you're like, "Oh, this guy's so mean to Squidward," and as an adult, you're like, "Yeah, most relatable character, 100%."
So we're gonna move on to the next show.
This one is different.
This show I don't know. Remember
I did
much
not
about
watch
at all.
this as a kid. I watched this as an adult, but I was so, I guess, affected by it as an adult that I wanted to bring it up here. It's one that people don't bring up. This is As Told by Ginger, which, yes, the animation is horrible. If you have never heard of this show, the animation style is not the best, but the content in the actual show itself is so good. This sort of goes back to Hey Arnold in the fact, but it doesn't get brought up as much. Why I think is it affects me so much because it's so under the radar. But I feel like it's so important because they brought up messages in shows that like you won't even expect to see. In particular, there's this episode called When She Was Gone, which is my favorite episode, where Ginger writes a poem about a girl on puppet strings who feels tied down by the world, and the poem ends with her just disappearing one day. And when she shows this to like her teacher and her friends, well, she's really excited about this. She wrote this for a contest. She's really excited about this. She feels like she really captured the energy of what somebody who feels trapped could feel like. But when showed, when she shows it to her friends and her teacher, they're all like, "Are you okay, Ginger? You might want to go see the school therapist because you might have something going on yourself." And Ginger is just really confused because she doesn't feel like she's suicidal or depressed or anything like that, but people keep telling her that what she's done, what she's written is problematic. And she starts to believe herself that maybe she does have these underlying thoughts. And so the episode ends with her going to her mother, Lois, who is one of the best characters mom characters I have seen in anything, to discuss the issue. And we get this life lesson that, even though I watched this when I was first in high school, really kind of stuck to me because I was going through a lot of stuff myself back then.
I know what you're thinking.
Come on, please.
It's like, you can't really make a sandwich without it, but 12 grams of fat per tablespoon, who needs?
Hi, Mom. It's not about mayo.
Ginge, I know you don't want to talk about it, but I just wanted to tell you that I really loved your poem. It gave me the full-blown chills, and I mean it. Way to go, kid.
But, Mom, didn't you find it troubling and disturbing? Aren't you worried that I'm the girl in the story, tragically depressed and crying out for help?
No. I know exactly who you are. You're a bright, sensitive young woman. The kind of person who understands people's feelings. Which is why you can write about them so beautifully.
You always make me feel better, Mom. How do you do that?
Listen, kid. You don't have to be afraid of your feelings. Ever. No matter what they are. And no one knows you better than you know yourself. So don't let people try to convince you that you're someone you're not. even if they do have a PhD. If you don't like talking to Dr. Leventhal, you can always talk to Dr. Mom. I'll give you a break on my hourly, too, okay?
Thanks again, Mom, for making me feel normal.
This, I don't know why, but that message really did hit. And if I was a kid, I think it would hit too, because I used to get into a lot of trouble in school, and I used to be a problem child, quote unquote, right?
Yeah.
And there were people, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but people who kept trying to like say stuff was wrong with me when it wasn't.
Oh yeah, especially in middle school, they were always calling me on the phone about some kind of nonsense. It was really, your
daughter's acting weird. Your daughter's
annoying.
acting weird. It did the same thing with my little brother. He's acting weird. But he didn't find anything weird about himself. I didn't find anything weird about myself. And I think it's important to a degree. I do think it is important to agree to get stuff like autism, stuff like that diagnosed at an early age. But I also believe that you shouldn't doing that stuff and putting pressure on the children like that can make them start feeling stuff about themselves, because they could misinterpret it and saying there's something wrong with them.
Well, let's put this on the table, okay? Both you and your brother were diagnosed with ADHD, attention hyperactive disorder, and a lot of people, especially back 10, 15 years ago, there was a real stigma with it. They thought it was just your kid's bad, and you need to discipline them more, okay? And it's not that at all. I mean, but people, I think now there's more of an understanding about these things. With my son, he's on the autism spectrum and has ADHD. It's just that teachers didn't know how. A lot of teachers don't know how to deal with that, but I think it's gotten a lot better. I can say that especially in high school, it's for him, especially. I think a lot of people understand, the way they think better, because you guys have a different way of thinking and your outlooks in the world a lot of times.
That is true. And for a kid show, because you've never heard this show before, I want to know what was your take on the clip.
I thought the clip was beautiful. I'm surprised I did not watch the show, because that's a pretty good show.
This show,
I think Cheryl said she watched the show.
Yeah, she did, which I'm surprised. I'm not the only one, Cheryl. I'm not the only one who knows about this show. Because, it's very similar to Hey Arnold in a certain sense. It's just, it's very similar to Hey Arnold, but Hey Arnold gets all the attention that it deserves. People always bring up Hey Arnold when they bring up Great Nickel. As Told by Ginger sort of just gets left to the wayside, which is honestly a shame.
And I can't believe it, because it came out in October 25th of 2000. It ran for 3 seasons, but had 60 episodes, which is pretty solid.
And I'm going to actually make a statement, because I told you I watched this during high school.
Right.
This show, made for kids, actually did teach me a moral lesson. And I think I told you about this before we started the show too. The episode where it's okay and normal to have a crush on your teacher, because that's stupid kid stuff. It's normal hormone stuff to have a crush on people who are older than you. There's nothing, I guess, fundamentally creepy about you having a crush on them.
Right.
Which did help, because I had a major crush on my European history teacher in the 10th grade, and I felt that I was weird about it. I thought, because people were saying,
apparently this guy was something else, because her best friend also had a crush on him.
But the thing is, I felt weird about it, because I kept telling other people, hey, I was trying to have a serious discussion, and they either laughed at me or they told me I was being creepy, which I guess it made me feel bad. Hey, I'm it makes you feel, when people do that, it makes you feel like you're the only one in the world with the issue. So to find out that as other people have do it too,
it's really kind of, I think it's kind of normal to have a crush on a teacher, at one point in your life, for sure.
And so that made me feel better. So hey, this show for kids helped me out as a teenager. It's a very good show, and if you can look past the animation style, I definitely recommend checking it out. 100%.
So we're going to go on to a next one, which was a huge powerhouse for Nickelodeon. And it's so much so that it had a few different kind of movies and different takes. And there's a new one, which Rachel doesn't care for at all. And that is The Fairly Odd Parents.
Which is about Timmy, an average kid, that no one understands. You see, his mom and dad and Vicky are always giving him demands. So he's all doom and gloom up in his room. And suddenly, instantly, his little magic fish can grant his every wish. And they are his Fairly Odd Parents. Okay, I did the best I can. I remember the part of the intro. Give me a break.
Parents,
This
Fairly Odd Parents.
Was my favorite Nicktoon. And I think you can...
yeah, it drove me nuts from time to time. There were episodes that I liked, and a lot of times, if it was on, I would leave the room because it just made me crazy sometimes.
Loved the Fairly.
It was on forever.
This was my SpongeBob. Other people had their SpongeBob was their SpongeBob, but for me as a kid, this was my SpongeBob. I loved this show so much.
It came out in 2001. You were a year old when this premiered. It has 10 seasons, 172 powerful episodes.
I love this so much. I had a birthday party themed after.
Yes, you did.
This show. The first birthday party where I actually had guests invited who weren't just family. I was finally old enough. I think it was 4.
Okay, I don't.
You went all in. I remember you went all in on the decorations fair. I have in my room, I'm looking at it right now, a thing from a gummy box from back in the day, one of those gushers. You know how they like have promotions where they do characters of Cosmo and Wanda.
Oh my gosh, it's still up on the wall.
That we cut out and put it on because I was such a big fan.
And it's still here.
Didn't know you didn't like the show as much as you did.
Sometimes it would make me crazy. There were some days I just couldn't take it, and I would leave.
I thought you liked Fairly Odd.
I did, but it could. The thing is, they played it in these huge blocks, sort of like SpongeBob.
It was the first show,
and Rugrats.
I believe it was the first show until the Loud House, a different show later on, to actually surpass SpongeBob in ratings. One of the only 2 to do that since SpongeBob came out.
Their boss sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He did like the Schwarzenegger voice.
What's his name? Jorgen von Strangle. I gotta get back. I remember I watched a few episodes from the show that I remember growing up with, and this show got really, I guess, was very not cynical, but like kind of like sarcasm heavy. Like
I liked I liked the parents, Timmy's parents.
Yes, Timmy's parents were hilarious. They were. I like them because like even though when they say the intro. They're like part of like what made to be miserable enough to get married, but they like their son. They're just always busy, I guess you would say.
Yeah,
they do care about their son, but they're just, I guess, what's the word?
They're working. So
they're working.
I can say that I kind of like am familiar. You know, I was a working mom, and you know, a lot of times I didn't have a lot of time for the kids, and
they're like oblivious to their kids. They
don't
put Vicky, his evil babysitter, on him because they know she's his evil babysitter. If they knew that, they wouldn't do it. But she puts on a front in front of him, and nobody believes your kids when they say that this adult is evil. Like I remember telling you my secondary teacher was evil, and you laughed at me. And then later you found out that she was evil.
Remember that song Icky Vicky though?
Yes.
I still sing it from time to time. I'll be like,
this show had some songs that were so good. Do you remember My Shiny Teeth and Me?
Oh yes, My Shiny Teeth and Me. Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm. This show, I remember I had the Halloween special that I used to have at DVD, and I used to play it in my room constantly, like on loop.
Mm-hmm.
I love that thing. This show was basically this was my child. Like if I had to pick one of these shows to be my childhood, this would be the show. And the fact that I kind of breaks my heart. Tell me that you got annoyed with it.
At times I would. At times Wanda and especially Cosmo, I would find him annoying.
Yes. It does with the Rocky and Bullwinkle with the satire. You know, I actually do know who Rocky and Bullwinkle is, believe it or not, and that's a very apt comparison.
I think so. Yeah, that's really.
And
good.
there are like little nuggets snuck in for adults too. Like one of my ones that I actually brought up to you that I laughed at because as a kid you don't get it. You don't read. There's text on screen. I don't read that, but as an adult you pay more attention to subtle details. Timmy's dad is like showing him a thing from his childhood that he enjoyed and realizes that there's construction there and that like what happened to the thing? I used to enjoy this all the time. What happened? And the bulldozer that's towing it down is called, I believe it's like Crushing All of Your Childhood Dreams Incorporated, which you can say is very accurate.
Yeah. Yep.
So I just really like this show. This show was, I guess you would say, I keep saying, I don't want to say again. It was very important to me. I've said that like 12 times. This show introduced me to the concept of, I guess,
Make-believe?
Sarcastic humor,
Okay.
which is something that I employ.
Yes, you do have a lot of sarcastic humor.
When I was a kid, I used to wish for my own fairy parents. But I guess I wasn't miserable enough, so I guess you did a good job there. I wasn't miserable enough to get fairies. So you did a good job.
So this actually had a live action film with the kid who played on
Drake Bell.
Yeah, Drake Bell. Did you like that? Did you watch it?
Unfortunately, as a kid, I enjoyed it because it was Fairly Odd Parents.
And,
I would probably
and
like the awful
show?
reboot if I was still a child.
Okay, but she does not like the reboot.
It's not even Fairly Odd Parents. The fairies show up for 3 minutes an episode and leave, and then it turns into a normal Disney sitcom. It's so bad. Like,
yeah, Cosmo and Wanda were
disgusting.
like the main characters on Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah, they were. They were just as important as Timmy.
Yeah.
And like they stopped. I don't know. This show went on for way too long. I stopped watching around the time Poof was born. The little cash grab, please bring our ratings up baby that they had.
Yeah, I remember.
But I will defend this. Poof in and of itself, a lot of people contribute him to the downfall of the show. Poof was enjoyable. He was a baby character, but the writers knew enough what to do with him to make him entertaining. If we're talking about characters that ruined the show, or just added nothing, Sparky and Chloe, you have no idea who these people are. You remember Poof.
I remember Poof, yeah.
You don't remember Sparky and Chloe.
Not at all.
Thank goodness. Oh my god, they were so bad. So I'm going to describe this premise to you. Look how fanfiction this sounds. So in season 10, in a last ditch effort to improve the ratings before the show was canceled, they introduced Chloe, a girl who Timmy would have to share his fairies with, despite her not being miserable.
That's terrible.
It's like she's like a super popular girl and everybody likes her.
Oh, that doesn't sound good at all.
It was bad. And it was bad. It should have ended with Channel Chasers.
So
that
was like a movie, right?
Yeah, it was like a movie where finally Timmy's parents realize how awful Vicky is and fires her, and it ends with like a flash forward in the future of Timmy with his kids.
Oh, that's cool.
So they should have ended the show there, but I didn't. Now this next show, I'm like reeling up because okay, this show is. I remember how I said that Rugrats Thornberry's crossover movie scared me as a kid. This next show did not. I remember I wouldn't watch this show very often as a kid, but I did. And it was so weirdly entrancing to me. Is this how I could describe it? Weirdly entrancing.
I don't remember the show at all.
You don't remember this show. But a lot of people do. This show, I'm giving it hype because I really am going to go on in deep on this one. Inspired a lot of creators of modern cartoons today, including Rebecca Sugar, the creator of Steven Universe, and upcoming creator Vivzy Pop, who has a show called Has Been Hotels coming out, and Hell of a Boss on YouTube. This
Hell of a Boss is for adults only.
Yes, it's an adult show. But this is Invader Zim. And Invader Zim is a show, one of the most interesting cartoons I think I have ever seen. And like, she has never seen the show, but from what I tell her about the show, I think she agrees with me.
Oh, yeah.
And how it even came to be. So, I honestly don't know what Nickelodeon was thinking. They had to push for Invaders, and they pushed. They were dark. This show, okay, let me go with the premise first. This show was about an alien named Zim who invaded the planet Earth. Well, he was sent to the planet Earth by his leaders, the tallest, because they want to get rid of him, and they didn't even know there was going to be a planet there. And he invades it to try to conquer it for them. So he goes undercover as a school child, and basically there's this kid named Dib, his nemesis, who tries to expose Zim as an alien, but nobody believes him. This is the basic premise of the show. This show is so dark. There's an episode about harvesting organs. It is one of the most macabre, dark shows ever. And you're like, well, how did this happen? Like, why would Nickelodeon allow? They went out of their way to get it. I don't remember the exact name of the comic, but it was something the Homicidal Maniac was this creator's previous work. I don't remember. I think it was Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. I could be wrong. They went, which is a dark black and white comic about a guy who murders people, and they went out of their way to get this creator. Hey, could you make a show, a child show? So when it turned out to be dark, and he kept trying to throw all these like really dark stuff into his show, the Nickelodeon was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, just here thinking, Nickelodeon, what did you expect to happen? This show, the thing that really strikes me because of how influential the show is to other people, you would think, oh, this show went on forever. This show lasted 2 seasons and had 27 episodes.
Yes, it premiered on March 30th, 2001.
And it still has a huge fan base to this day.
I've heard of a lot of people liking this show, and apparently it has a lot of, I think they said this show is before its time. You know? And it was probably on the wrong network. It should have probably been on something like Cartoon Network or maybe like the Toonami.
This came out, that was before Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network came out later. I thought this was in 2002.
But yeah, I'm saying it should be like for like after hours, like after dark, you know, like a show.
It should have been Adult Swim, honestly. It should have been an adult show because they could get away because they kept trying to kill off characters. And Nickelodeon was like, no. They wanted one kid to die and like fall off a building and fall into some power cords, and that they wanted that to be his fate. And Nickelodeon looked at it and they were like, no. But they would fight back on some of this stuff. Like there's an image called Bloody Gurr. Gurr is the little robot. He's in his little dog form. You probably see that if you know anything about the show. You probably, if you've ever read a Hot Topic, you've probably seen him everywhere. But he basically, it's like a bloody image of him. He's got like blood coming out of him. And Nickelodeon was like, no, you cannot show this. So what the creators did in the final few episodes of season 2 is that they snuck him in a single frame in a bunch of the episodes, so you can only see it going frame by frame. They snuck the image in there. They really fought back on this show.
So talk about the cancellation, how that happened.
Well, first off, why it happened. There's a lot of misinformation out there. Some people say, well, because it was too dark, obviously. The real reason is low ratings, big budget. And the big budget is obvious because this show came out in 2001 and used CGI. But if you watch the first episode, the CGI actually looks pretty good. So I'm just going to put that out there. It was an expensive show to make and it didn't get them enough viewership to continue on, which is a shame. But how it got canceled, I don't think I would be able to deal with this. They were in the middle of creating episodes, like a normal day at the office. And an executive just comes in being like, okay, everything's canceled. You can finish one more episode and then you're out. And I didn't know, like, I don't know how that's not a breach of could that, like, how the heck did that happen?
It happens from time to time.
Oh my gosh. Like, they were just in the middle of production. Like, they didn't even get to finish their season. Like, they, like, cut them mid-season. Like, they still had episodes to do.
Yeah.
And they're just like, nope, you're done. Get out of here. Finish the Christmas special or whichever one you want to finish. And so they finished the Christmas special. But this show, I watched it more as an adult. Like I said, as a kid, it was a weirdly intriguing show to me. As an adult, this is hilarious.
Do you think they'll ever bring it back?
They did, kind of. They had a direct in 2019. They had Enter the Florpus, which was a direct movie continuation of the series that basically acted as sort of like a finale-ish to the series. But a lot of people wanted it back for a long time. And do I think it will ever be brought back? I don't know, but I think that there is a decent chance of it. The creator has expressed interest, despite the fact being a huge troll. He's a troll. Richard Horchowitz, who voices Zim, has expressed interest. The voice actor of Dib has expressed interest. The fact that all these people are expressing interest towards its continuation, and the fact that it still has a huge fan base, leads me to believe that it is a possibility. But if it did happen, my personal belief is, please just let it be on an adult network. But I'm curious on why you asked them specifically, do you think that they would bring this back?
Because because so many people, like creators today, they look on that show as something
it's extremely, like, that's their inspiration.
Yeah, that's their inspiration.
Which I find so, like, this show is just so intriguing to me, honestly. It's honestly one of the most intriguing cartoon shows I have ever heard of or ever seen, because just of how it happened and how it's so influential to people despite being so short. It's honestly an enigma. Stuff like this doesn't happen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
shows that usually like it's not like It's Told by Ginger where it's like a cult classic, but then even that one went on for way longer than this show.
Much longer.
People are like super fans of this show. Like there's still a fan base today. Like you could go online and see people still talking about it, which you also don't see today. You don't see people still talking about shit that was canceled more than 2 decades ago.
Right. I mean, look at As Told by Ginger. A lot of people don't talk about that show.
A lot of people don't talk about big stuff like the Fairly Odd Parents and stuff. People talk more about Invader Zim than SpongeBob, and SpongeBob's still on.
Well, that's crazy. I don't think that's true though, because I just read an article where SpongeBob was like the number one.
But I'm talking about among adults
requested.
and like teenagers.
Okay.
Among like people who grew up with it, like adults and teenagers.
But back in March, SpongeBob SquarePants was the number one show like wanted on Amazon, like Amazon Prime. So that says a lot about SpongeBob. But we've got 4 more shows to talk about.
Back to speaking. Hey mom, remember how you said Fairly Odd Parents annoyed you as a kid?
Oh yeah, here we go.
Jimmy Neutron. This was up there with Fairly Odd Parents with me. I watched this probably as much as I did then. This show was I just enjoyed it. I like the science stuff. I thought the character this also had that image. It was very similar to Fairly Odd Parents in the terms of it being a very sarcastic show.
Yes.
I don't know why you got so annoyed by it.
But you know what bothered me is I wasn't used to the animation. It was like 3D animation.
And you're like, what is this? It burns.
It kind of freaked me out a little bit, to be honest. But some of the episodes were really cute. I have to say that. And I liked his friends. And Sheen.
We're laughing because the Planet Sheen spinoff is so bad that it's notorious in our house.
Yeah.
Like, I keep waiting. Like, I'm waiting subconsciously for it to show up.
Here's the thing. We have this thing that we talk about where we think that YouTube's listening to us all the time because we'll mention something and it'll pop up on YouTube. So we have this ongoing thing where we're like, don't put Planet Sheen on.
Yeah, we're waiting. We're still waiting. And yes, Carl was hilarious too. Carl, the little ginger nerd.
Oh, yeah, love him.
They were both so great. I love the side characters in this show. This show was just so fun to me. And even though you found it annoying, you gotta admit, it was still better than some of the other stuff.
And tell me something. Did Jimmy Neutron inspire some of this bioengineering stuff for you?
Science. I wouldn't say bioengineering stuff. I would say science. It did get me into science. Even if it wasn't the small fact. I want to make a rocket ship and go to the moon.
Yeah, this show, it's surprising to me that it was only on for 3 seasons and 61 episodes because they used to do this block. You would just block this show too. So I'm surprised it didn't last as long, but I think it did have a movie at one point. Oh, it did a movie with Fairly Odd Parents, didn't it?
No, not movie. It did 3 specials. They were called the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour.
Okay.
And it did have a movie. The movie was its pilot. But the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour is what I'm bringing up because that was so cool back in the day. How they like switched when they went into each other's universes, they switched the animation style. So you got to see Jimmy and the Fairly Odd Parents style and Timmy in the 3D animation. That is like, even though you don't like the 3D animation style, you got to admit that was pretty cool.
That was really cool.
Like as a kid,
and you know what? I like it now. It's just that back then when it originally aired,
you're like, oh, what is this 3D? Mystical witchcraft that's going on here.
It really kind of bothered me back then. But let's talk about My Life as a Teenage Robot because this is a show that I wasn't really much into.
But this is me and my dad's show.
Yeah, you two really liked this show.
This show is actually kind of a big deal to me because, well, I told you I saw As Told by Ginger. That was more of a after my childhood thing, but I still wanted to bring it up. This is the first show that I watched during my childhood that had a female protagonist, and she's a robot, but still a female protagonist. So you know what? That was kind of special. This show, this is the one of the only shows that I can remember really bonding with my dad over. It was a fun show. It was very different though than a lot of the other shows that we've talked about before. I don't think you got it.
I didn't get that. I didn't get it at all. It only lasted 3 seasons. 40 episodes, started airing originally on August 1st, 2003. But I do remember you and your dad watching it a lot. I remember one episode where like her mom kind of like did something to her to make her act really weird. like a robot.
You gotta be more specific. That happens like every other episode.
That's all. That's what I remember of that show. That's the, but you know, I never really watched it with them.
I think that's a shame.
This was your guys' show, you and your dad.
Did Christopher like it? Because I remember I'm trying to like think because
He was really, I think, really young because he wasn't even born yet. He wasn't even born yet when it originally aired.
The good times. No, I'm just kidding. I love him, but still. I don't have a lot to say about the show. I just remember it fondly because me and my dad don't have a lot of bonding stuff, so I wanted to bring it up for posterity's sake. Something that I do remember. Hey, Mom, can I stay up till 11 o'clock? We missed it because we were at Grandma's. Can we stay up till 11 o'clock to watch the Danny Phantom special? It was the one where he goes and meets his future self, and it's kind of really important to me that I see this.
And I said, sure, honey. You can stay up and watch it. And I was so tired.
This show is the first time I cared about the plot in anything ever. Like, Danny Phantom was made by Butch Hartman, the same guy who did Fairly Odd Parents. And you like this one, too.
Yes, this is a good show.
This is one that I remember. It's about a kid who can turn into a ghost, and he catches ghosts. This is your plot. It's very basic, but it's so good. This was I think this is the first action show that I was into. Am I wrong? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Could be, yes.
Yes. This was how do I describe it? This show, I remember I played on the playground with this show. We didn't play Fairly Odd Parents or SpongeBob. We played Danny Phantom. And we caught the ghost. Like instead of tag, we had Danny Phantom, where it's just basically tag. But one of us was it was Danny, and the other characters were the ghosts. And if he tagged us, we would go. That's how we used to play it on the playground. And the specials for this show were so good. Like there was the Danny meeting his evil future self one, which was so good. These were so hype back in the day. There was the one with the gems. I forget it. But there was the one with the gem where Danny's identity was exposed and they were on the run. That one was so cool. I think that was another one that I asked you to stay up late for.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, because Danny Phantom came out on a weird time. It came out on it
was like on at like 8. They would premiere at 8, and we would always be
doing something else.
We would always be over at your grandma and grandpa's or something.
So the next time they aired it was at 11. So I kept having to be like, Mom, please.
Yeah.
And you'd allow it because you were the cool mom.
Yeah, and I know how much you loved this show, and I remember a couple of episodes. This one,
you remember, of course, you got a thing with mind control episodes. Do you want to tell me what the episode's about?
He gets mind controlled by the mean guy, the main guy. I don't remember. It's been a long time.
Okay,
it's been a long time.
She remembers the hypnotism. She's got a thing for hypnotism. She likes hypnotism plots.
Yeah.
I remember the Ember McLean one is the one that I remember, the main ghost that I remember. She was the rock star, and I think you might vaguely remember. Yeah. Yes, she was that rock star, and she also had some bangers.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember Ember Remember?
Probably if I saw it, I would, yeah.
This show, but we're coming to the end. This is more of a 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade show. And then we're finally at the finale, Mom.
Oh, yeah. This is
the show.
Huge show in our house.
This is so important.
So important in a lot of ways.
Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I think is like a good way to end this out, because this is the show that everybody talks about. Everybody remembers this show.
Like grown-ups watch this show.
And
everybody watched this
show. This cartoon to her when she was an adult because she didn't get it. She's like, well, I never thought about this show. I showed it to her. And what you have to say about it?
It's incredible. It's an incredible show. It's incredible writing, incredible art, and just all around good show. I mean, here's the thing. This Avatar: The Last Airbender was almost, it was like bringing anime. It was anime style storytelling to America. Okay, so it broke new ground. I didn't get that as a kid. It broke new ground. We watched it when it originally aired. It used to come on in the evenings on Nickelodeon, and I remember that we'd have to wait between seasons, and everybody would get so grouchy because it would be like, what's going to happen? Because it would always leave off on these cliffhangers.
The season 2 finale, I remember crying, and I said, Mom, I can't wait, because I was watching reruns up until that point. For that was I watched live, and I came to her crying, being like, Mom, Is Aang dead? I remember asking you, is Aang dead? Because he was like almost like a Zuko, who you think is gonna go like on this big redemption arc at the last minute, like has a relapse, and he like shoots. No, it was Azula who's the one who shoots the lightning at Aang, and it like ends sort of like, I guess the best comparison I have is Empire Strikes Back.
That was his sister, right?
Yeah, Zuko's sister.
Yeah.
Like Empire Strikes Back, where every like a second movie in the 3-book trilogy where it just ends in like our heroes. So I went up there, I start crying, and I'm like, Mom, it's Aang dead. You have to reassure me.
Yeah.
No, Aang is not dead. He'll be back next season. You know what I mean?
This show had a great little cast.
Zuko. People still thirst after this man to this day. People legit have a crush on this man. I am no different, but I didn't have a crush on him as a kid. Ew, boys. Now I rewatched the show growing up.
Zuko. I think that isn't Zuko's storyline like one of your favorite things about the show.
Yes, it is, and it's considered one of the best things about the show. It's considered one of the best, to the point where this took inspiration from Japanese media. There's Japanese media taking inspiration from this, and you know this Todoroki from My Hero Academia directly stated to be influenced by Zuko.
Yeah. Oh, really? I did not know that. I did not know that, but it makes sense. It makes sense with the
scar.
Yes, because so the character on My Hero Academia, if you haven't watched it, he's got 2 powers. He's cold and hot, and his mom burned his face when he was a young kid. So he has this like a scar on, like a burn scar on his fire side, and then he has his cold side, which his mom was a cold. She had like cold powers, and his dad is hot. And for the longest time, because he had resentment towards his dad,
he didn't want to use the hot.
He did not want to use his hot side. He would always just use his cold side.
Save it for the My Hero Academia video. But basically, what we're trying to say
what I'm saying is now that makes sense to me. That makes sense that he is a inspiration.
And I'm so glad that this show is talked about as much as it is, because compared to Invader Zim and this one, I think are the 2 big ones that are still discussed like among adult fans, and rightfully so. I remember specifically we were watching this series, like we watched it when it came to Netflix, and in the middle we're like, hey, you know what would be fun? Let's watch the M. Night Shyamalan. Let's watch the M. Night Shyamalan action movie. And now that all of this stuff was fresh in her mind when she was watching this, it was just suffering for you, wasn't it?
It was terrible.
And I remember specifically when we went back to the normal show after that, you were like, oh, the characters have personality.
I can't believe you could take something so wonderful with such rich characters from an animated show,
suck it dry,
and just take it and turn it into a complete pile of coal. I mean, just have like total non-personality. Don't even get the ethnics right on it.
Yeah,
because the 2 main characters besides Ong are
Aang. He's only called Ong in the movie.
Sorry, Aang. They're supposed to be American Eskimo, right?
Yeah, Inuit.
Okay, Inuit. Okay, and they're not.
They're white. They're just pure white.
It just makes
like, and
no
maybe
sense.
if you like, if these actors were like so superior that like you could only cast them like, oh, but you aren't the race that we're looking for, but your performance was so good, like you could understand. They're drier than a rock.
It was really bad. I don't know if you guys watched The Last Airbender. My advice to you is
don't
just go watch the animated series again, because you'll thank us. You'll thank us later on that one. So that was we went through 14 of the Nickelodeon cartoons that were a big part of Rachel's life and mine on the early.
And
on
so
the
to end this up, just so to show you how big this stuff was, child, we have 2 last brief things to mention. One, I dragged it out, Mom. Remember Twilight seen it? We also had Nickelodeon seen it.
Oh, we played that all the time.
We played the heck out of Nickelodeon seen it.
And the other thing that was really big,
Nickelodeon basketball DVD game, Nicktoons basketball DVD game.
It was so
like
cool.
It was so good. Like no, this wasn't something that she bought for me. I plugged it in. I played it. Well, she like once and gets it. No, she actively took the computer because we had one back in the time. But this is where computers you had to use CD-ROM to get the CD-ROM. She would take over the computer and just play her own stuff.
Yes, you could play Danny Phantom, or you could play Jimmy Neutron.
You can play like it's called Nick. You can play basically anybody.
I think you could play Invader Zim on that.
Yeah, you can.
And it's basically you have this whole basketball team that you can just build, and it was the coolest game. I absolutely love Nicktoons basketball.
Maybe definitely. That's not next show, but definitely because those were also because after Nicktoons, I think we'll show this more when we do get to the Cartoon Network show. But do you know how I discovered Cartoon Network?
No, I don't.
I was watching Nicktoons as normal, right? Because I find this an interesting story, and suddenly there's this really weird commercial about characters from this other network who were like, hey, don't watch cartoons on here, go to the Cartoon Network. And I later found out that this was a big deal because Nickelodeon didn't like pay attention to what ad spaces they bought. So Cartoon Network bought an ad space and stuck their characters on there to basically be like, hey, don't watch this, go watch Cartoon Network.
I did not know that.
So that's how I discovered that there's another network with all these other cartoons. So I think I specifically remember that. And because you do remember when I was around middle school era, I did start watching Cartoon Network. Mm-hmm. And then later on, it was Disney.
Right.
Disney was the last in the batch.
So for our next show, we were talking about what we were going to do, and we were just throwing some things. But you know what? When we did our original coming soon, earlier when we first launched the show, Rachel put together this really great video of things we were going to discuss. And I was talking about doing 80s rom-coms, but before we do that, I want to do something that's in the show, and that is John Hughes movies. Do you know who John Hughes is?
No.
Do you know Molly Ringwald?
I've heard you don't shut up about her. I don't know anything other than you don't stop talking about her.
Do you know anything about the Brat Pack?
No.
Well,
I know what the Breakfast Club is because they reference that in everything.
So we're gonna there's a clip that we did on that with the Breakfast Club, and I'm gonna make her watch John Hughes movies next. We're gonna try to come back in 2 weeks, but depending on the schedule for her finals, we might have to come back a little bit later than that. But please stay tuned because the next time we're gonna do the 1980s films of John Hughes. So thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate everybody being here.
Definitely.
Have a great night and have a great day tomorrow.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.